Now, there is also a third version of this story that most people have never heard of, and it's called the Testament of Job. It is a Jewish apocryphal text, probably written in the 1st century BCE, 1st century CE, somewhere in between there. The earliest surviving manuscript is in Coptic from the 5th century. Other copies exist in Greek and Old Slavonic, and it tells a very different story. So in the Testament of Job, Job is not just a righteous man. Job is a king. The reason that Satan targets him is revenge. Job destroyed a pagan temple, and Satan is coming after him for it, which completely changes the moral character of the story, because in the biblical version, Job's suffering is arbitrary, which is kind of the whole point, the horror of that arbitrariness. But in the Testament, there's a clear cause. And Satan in the Testament of Job is also much more of a villain than in the canonical Bible. In the Bible, the Satan is more of a prosecuting attorney. He's kind of part of the divine court, like he has a role in the divine council. But in the Testament, he directly attacks Job, and Job endures through sheer patience. No debate necessary, no why was I born, just endurance, essentially. But the most striking thing in the Testament is what happens to Job's wife. The Testament gives her a name, Sitidos, and she has a full arc. She suffers alongside Job, endures poverty and humiliation, and eventually dies during his trials. After the trials are over, Job remarries, and his second wife is Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, which is a pretty wild narrative move because it just takes Job back from the land of Uz and stitches him into the house of Israel. Even though the entire biblical text went out of its way to place him outside the covenant, in the Testament, he's kind of retroactively remarried into Jacob's family. The Testament also has this strange detail at the end. Job gives his daughters multicolored cords to wear around their chests, and these cords allow them to sing in the language of the angels. Some scholars connect this to early practices of glossolalia, which is speaking in tongues. But either way, it's a text that takes Job's daughters, who in the biblical version are basically just mentioned in passing, and gives them access to angelic speech. The women who are barely counted in the original book become, in this retelling, the ones who can speak the language of heaven.